Brand new week. Brand new fiascos brewing. Lots of trouble. Proud and fearless Palestinian jihad warriors in Israel have stabbed a 70-year-old man and an 80-year-old woman. Obama's former pastor, Jeremiah Wright, says he helped Obama accept Christianity without having to renounce Islam. Voting machines in Illinois are magically turning Republican votes into Democrat votes. And the United States just spent $43 million on a gas station and can't explain why. My name is Howard Riell, and this is Riell Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com and on Facebook and YouTube and Tumblr and in the book Riell Truth, Stay Angry. And of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM The Lion. Our call-in number is 877-254-7524. But you knew that already. Welcome back, everybody. Brand new week. The world is on fire. Let's recount it. Item from the Associated Press, Dateline, Jerusalem. A Palestinian stabbed and wounded a 70-year-old man in northern Israel before being shot by officers, police said Monday, just hours after another Palestinian knifed several people, including an 80-year-old woman, in a stabbing spree near Tel Aviv. The latest attacks in more than a month of violence, unquote. My friends, everybody's afraid of ISIS. Everyone's afraid of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban and Boko Haram. Everybody's scared of these little sissy boys who attack unexpectedly among civilians who are unarmed, not expecting an attack. They go after the elderly. They go after children. These are not proud, brave jihad warriors. These are punks. These are punks who can be dispensed with, but first you've got to decide to dispense with them. Thus far, Israel's been going about 67 years as a state without dispensing of these cowards. Well, how many innocent men, women, and children are going to have to be sacrificed before the folks in the Knesset get a clue that this is a problem that can, should, and must be solved? And to not solve it when you can is even more immoral than what these proud warriors think they're accomplishing. Item from Israel, Islam, and EndTimes.com. In a stunning interview, New York Times bestselling author Ed Klein said Obama's former pastor, Jeremiah Wright, helped Obama accept Christianity without having to renounce Islam. The Reverend Jeremiah Wright was like a second father to Barack Obama and helped shape his political philosophy, author Klein explains based on his interview with Wright. In his book, The Amateur, Barack Obama in the White House, Klein interviewed Wright for 3.5 hours. Wright told him of Obama's secret efforts to keep him quiet during the presidential campaign. But the more significant material spotlights how important Wright was to Obama's thinking even before the future president began going to Wright's church in 1988. It's one thing for Obama to sit in the church and listen to the Reverend Wright spew his hatred against whites, Jews, and America, Klein says. But in my view, having spoken to the Reverend Wright, that paled by comparison with the personal relationship Obama had that went way beyond his simply being a member of the church listening to all this stuff. Obama began his relationship with Wright, whom he has called a mentor and a sounding board, 3 years before he began attending Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago. Obama went to the Reverend Wright at every stage of his career whenever things went wrong, says Klein, a contributing editor of Vanity Fair and a former editor-in-chief of the New York Times Magazine. For instance, when he lost the 2000 congressional election for the seat that Bobby Rush, the former Black Panther, holds on the south side of Chicago, Klein says, he was in a state of terrible depression. He owed a great deal of money and his marriage was on the rocks. Who did he go to? He went to the Reverend Wright for marriage counseling. He went to the Reverend Wright about, what shall I do next, Rev? Every step of his career, every step of his development as a political figure was made in conjunction with conversations that he had with Reverend Wright personally. As revealed in the book in the president's Secret Service behind the scenes with agents in the line of fire and the presidents they protect. Just before Wright spoke at the National Press Club, Obama secretly met on October 4th, 2008 with Wright at Trinity's parsonage where Wright then lived. So that they would not be noticed, agents made a point of driving Obama in a minivan instead of the usual Suburban. They parked their other vehicles a block away. Obama spent an hour with Wright and then left. At this secret meeting with him, Obama practically begged him not to go on and speak any further, Klein says. This was after one of Obama's best friends had sent an email to a member of the church saying he was prepared to give Reverend Wright $150,000 if he would shut up. The Reverend Wright told me he has saved that email. In the recorded interview, Wright says he basically could not afford to shut up for $150,000, Klein says. Wright explained he had expenses that he had to pay. Klein says he had a child and a couple of grandkids in college that he was paying for, and so he goes around the United States giving sermons and making speeches, and he gets paid for that. Klein says Obama originally sought out Wright to discuss community activism. Quickly, the conversations turned from picking up garbage on the street and getting streetlights put up on street corners to political matters and religious matters, Klein says. And the Reverend Wright turned into really a substitute father figure who guided Obama in the two major areas of his life. The first was Obama's identity. Just who was he? Obama was steeped in Islam. He knew a lot about Islam. He knew nothing about Christianity, Klein says. Klein asked, do you think that Obama ever thought of himself as a Muslim? To which Wright replied, yep, and that was his thing. I'm sure he got some grief, not proselytizing grief, but grief from that part of his family, just from, and I say that based on my wide range of Muslim friends. Klein asked Wright if he converted Obama from being a Muslim into a Christian. He said, quote, I don't know about that, but I can tell you I made it easy for him to come to an understanding of who Jesus Christ is and not feel that he was turning his back on his Islamic friends and his Islamic tradition and his understanding of Islam, Wright said. The second area was Obama's political philosophy. Wright introduced Obama to black liberation theology. Black liberation theology is based essentially on the Marxist belief that there's an oppressor class and an oppressed class, Klein says. In the case of black liberation theology, the oppressor class are the whites and the oppressed are the blacks. And there is a maldistribution of wealth in this country, a quote from Black Liberation Theology, unquote. My friends, all this stuff is coming out about Obama, and think, tens of millions of Americans voted for him twice without knowing any of it. It's Monday. We'll be right back.
We all know that our government is not control. Who are the people in it? How can we, the people, bring it back to the people's service, not the people's masters? Liberty, part in the freedom of understanding. Officials in the government must be made accountable for their actions. AccountabilityRevolution.com is the place to go to learn how you can actually make that happen. Become their judges, not their slaves. AccountabilityRevolution.com. Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of the Rockies reminds everyone the chance of involvement in an auto accident rises dramatically with the consumption of alcohol or use of drugs. Please think before you drive. Don't let drugs or alcohol ruin your life or take the lives of others. You are responsible for your own safety as well as the safety of those around you. This message from Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of the Rockies. For information on their services, call 970-484-7981. Now this is the testimony of John when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, who are you? He confessed and did not deny, but confessed, I am not the Messiah. And they asked him, what then? Are you Elijah? He said, I am not. Are you the prophet? And he answered, no. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 19 through 21. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any
My friends, you know the rules. This is Riell Truth. I'm Howard Riell. The rules are you get the truth and nothing but the truth, whether you want it or not. My job is to convince you to want it, because without it, it's like driving a car on the highway with your eyes closed. You got to know where the obstacles are. You got to know where you're hurtling. If you're in the back seat, you got to know who's driving you and where they're taking you, and that's what this show is about. Now, I'm going to put a guy on the video now who's going to say some not so great things about Donald Trump, which you'll find interesting because you know I like Donald Trump. But I also like Bill Whittle, who does a show called Afterburner. You'll find this on my Facebook page, Riell Truth Radio. He's going to say a lot of interesting things about Trump, and I want you to listen all the way to the end. Here we go. My friends, that's Bill Whittle. That's why you hear his voice on this radio show every once in a while. You're going to be hearing more of him, more from him today. Donald Trump, he's not perfect. We don't require someone that's perfect. I don't think we've ever had someone who's perfect in the White House. But Donald Trump, with all his faults, might just be the medicine that America needs right now. Item from TeaParty.org, Barack Obama is a dangerous man. He's punch-drunk on power and preoccupied with his legacy. Like every miserable dictator before him, he has deluded himself into thinking he knows what's best for us and blames others for his failure to transform America into the socialist paradise of his dreams. He truly believes he's got all the answers, and that he just needs the chance to prove it. We must not let that happen. He has already gone too far. That's why I ask you to do two things for me right now. Sign the congressional petition to end Obama's treacherous and unconstitutional martial law power grab. Please send your best possible gift to the Tea Party Guard. Fight back against Obama's dictator-like power grab and restore our nation to its constitutional roots. Unquote. My friends, I didn't put this item on my show to try and get you to open up your wallets and send money. You can if you want. I want you to know that there is a dictatorial part of Obama's administration. And between now and 2016, who knows how he's going to use that power. Might even use it to wangle himself a third and or an ongoing presidency, a third administration. We don't know. But as we can tell from reading the headlines every day, anything is possible. Item from Breitbart. Video has emerged from Illinois of a, quote, calibration error that causes voting machines to switch votes from Republican to Democrat. The video posted on YouTube purportedly shows voting machines in the public library in Moline, Illinois, registering votes as Democrat when the Republican is clearly the intended choice. Several voters in Rock Island County have already claimed publicly about similar problems with local voting machines in early voting. One local voter, Christina Kirk, told local NBC News affiliate KWQC6 last week, quote, when I went to cast my vote and touched the screen for my Republican candidate, the Democratic candidate was the one that would pop up with my X, even though I pressed the Republican candidate. Unquote. My friends, funny things happen in the state of Illinois, where politics is about as dirty as any place it ever is. By the way, isn't that where Barack Obama's from? Item from email. This is from Serbia. They arrived in an unceasing stream, 10,000 a day at the height, as many as 1 million migrants heading for Europe this year, pushing infants in strollers and elderly parents in wheelchairs, carrying children on their shoulders and life savings in their socks. They came in search of a new life, but in many ways they were the heralds of a new age. There are more displaced persons and refugees now than at any other time in recorded history, 60 million in all. And they are on the march in numbers not seen in World War II. They're coming not just from Syria, but from an array of countries and regions, including Afghanistan, Iraq, Gaza, even Haiti, as well as any of a dozen or so nations in sub-Saharan and North Africa. They are unofficial ambassadors of failed states, unending wars, intractable conflicts. The most striking thing about the current migration crisis, however, is how much bigger it could still get. Unquote. My friends, it may well get bigger, but it doesn't have to get bigger here if we decide to slam shut our border. Is there really no politician out there? None who will fight the good fight on behalf of that? I know I told you last week more than 90% of incumbents get reelected. Let's stop that, shall we? Item from Disclosed TV. President Obama signed an executive order that could potentially give him the power to institute martial law in the United States in times of peace or during a national threat. The National Defense Resources Preparedness Executive Order will give Obama more power over, quote, resources and services needed to support such plans and programs, unquote. Many Americans were shocked to find that this order gives the president practically unlimited power over U.S. citizens and their property, all in the name of national security, of course. In the order, it states, quote, in the event of a potential threat to the security of the United States, Actions are necessary to ensure the availability of adequate resources and production capability, including services and critical technology for national defense requirements. According to a White House press release, the U.S., quote, must have an industrial and technological base capable of meeting national defense requirements and capable of contributing to the technological superiority of its national defense equipment, unquote. My friends, in short order, it means that if Barack Obama signs a piece of paper, he becomes king. You can dance around the facts and use any kind of phraseology you want, but basically that's what it boils down to. It's not even Obama's doing. This order's been in place since 9/11. Every president renews it every year. And so if Barack Obama wants to stay president, he can, legally. Now, if that doesn't keep you from sleeping at night, I don't know what will. Item from Jews News. Muslim countries refuse to take a single Syrian refugee, cite risk of exposure to terrorism. You can't make this stuff up. If commentators in the West express such legitimate fears, they are racist, Islamophobic, anti-Muslim bigots. But the fact is that this massive migration is a societal failure. It's the result of Islamic rule. Winston Churchill said in 1899, quote, individual Muslims may show splendid qualities, but the influence of the religion paralyzes the social development of those who follow it. No stronger retrograde force exists in the world, unquote. And while I do believe that these Muslim countries fear jihadists who threaten their reign, I also believe these Muslim leaders see it as the hirage into Europe, the Islamic colonization of Europe, unquote. My friends, that's exactly what it is. I'm still waiting to see Europe respond to this mass invasion. They're not. I don't think they're going to. What about us? We see the invasion beginning. Are we going to stop it? Or are we going to surrender without a shot being fired? Item from the Daily Mail via the Religion of Peace website. Universities will ban feminists, right-wing politicians, and other controversial speakers to appear fair to Muslims. Vince Cable has warned. The ex-business secretary said the prevent strategy would make institutions feel compelled to censor all, quote, extreme views to prove that they're not anti-Islamic. Under the government's counter-terror drive, universities have a duty to monitor students for signs of nonviolent extremism and block hate preachers. But yesterday, Sir Vince said institutions would feel obliged to, quote, demonstrate impartiality and ban non-Muslim speakers whose reputation is also controversial for different reasons. He said some speakers were already being given hostile receptions on campuses, including UKIP leader Nigel Farage, who canceled an appearance at Cambridge after protests, unquote. My friends, Europe is a special place. Not only are they laying down in order to be conquered, they are running towards their conquerors, arms open, begging to be taken over. Item from Jihad Watch. An Egyptian teacher of Arabic language whipped a 10-year-old Coptic Christian boy with 40 lashes using an electric wire last week in a Cairo school. The doctors who later examined the boy's wounds, quote, could not believe that the teacher could do this, unquote, said the child's father. The incident occurred on October 21 during the Coptic student's last class of the day, Arabic language. Then the teacher told the pupils to remain silent until they had all copied all the Arabic phrases he had written on the board. When Babawi, the Coptic boy, asked the student in front of him to move his head so he could see the board, the teacher proceeded to lock the door and flog the Christian boy 40 times with a large electrical wire all over his body, unquote. My friends, this is Islam. We'll be back.
We all know that our government is not control. We're the point of people in it. How could on their services, call 970-484-7981. Reasons to own gold. Brought to you by the Patriot Trading Group at allamericangold.com. Reason number 647. Most people don't even know that the courts have already ruled. Once money is deposited into the bank owns the money, and the depositor is merely an unsecured creditor of the bank, which means if the bank goes under, you get paid less. After the financial crisis, instead of breaking up too big to fail, the government and the Federal Reserve created Dodd-Frank and made too big to fail banks even bigger, while putting your deposits more at risk. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. To learn more, visit us at allamericangold.com or call us at 800-951-0592. And of his fullness we have all received, and grace for grace. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 16. Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
All right, guys, welcome back. You tell me, is it my imagination or have Americans gotten stupider? Has our education been dumbed down, and do people care less, more people than ever care less about learning? My perception is that that's exactly the case. That's also the perception of our friend Bill Whittle, who visited with us in the last segment. Here he is talking about the great unlearning, how our society became so stupid. This comes from Afterburner and Pajamas TV. Here we go. My friends, the phrase great unlearning is a very, very apt one because that's what we Americans do. All the information, as he said, as Bill Whittle said, in the palm of our hand, and instead we play games. We amuse ourselves. We don't educate ourselves. It is a national catastrophe. It's an international catastrophe. I don't know what to tell you. If you're a parent letting your kid play games on that little thing in his hand instead of learning and reading and experiencing life, then you are a failure as a parent. Get busy. Item from NBC. A 24-year-old New Jersey man who tried to help organize a small army of ISIS fighters in the Garden State and New York pleaded guilty Thursday to terror-related charges. Allah Sadeh was part of a group of men who were trying to support the ISIS terror group. Sadeh admitted he gave money and credit cards to other members of the group to try and help them travel to Syria, unquote. My friends, I doubt very much that Mr. Sadeh is Amish. We'll be back.
Howdy, folks. Have you ever thought about having your own backyard chickens? Now you have a source.
All right, guys, the video is about to come to an end. I'll post it, find it, watch it, memorize it, commit yourself to it in all possible ways, and then share it with everybody. We got to start addressing these problems or we're done. I'll see you tomorrow.